Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Piers Morgan of Piers Morgan Uncensored recently had on Candace Owens and some other person, I believe is a professor, to talk all things the election and the results of Trump winning the election and why Trump, in fact, won. There's a number of reasons as to why Trump did win the election. Number one issue for a lot of women and a lot of families was, in fact, the transgender issue. Who would have thought that in today's day and age, that the number one issue that people will be voting for a political candidate on would be not allowing biological men into women-only spaces, into locker rooms, sports, you name it, and to not allow the government to let doctors profit off of butchering and mutilating the likes of innocent young kids. Because as we know, there is no such thing as a trans child, nor is there such thing as somebody that can transition to the other side. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter how much you try and chop off your healthy body parts. It doesn't make you the other sex. What it makes you is delusional. What it makes you is someone with a mental health issue. Now, I do have friends of mine that have decided to live life as the opposite sex. We would call them transsexuals. And to be honest with you, they are still beautiful people. I've got nothing against them as people at all. I may disagree with their lifestyle choices, but that doesn't mean we can be fair, civil, and rational. And the other thing is they still agree with me that transing kids or trying to trans kids is wrong. And this whole trans ideology is pathetic and it's sick and it's horrific. And we shouldn't be trying to force it down anyone's throats. I've been talking about this now for almost 2.5 years. It's kind of crazy to think just how much has changed in that period of time and how much I've grown as a person, how much more mature I've gotten, and how much more information that I have gained or learned as a result of doing a lot of these videos for you all and having conversations with people along the way. Now, one of the things that I do like about Candace Owens is the fact that she's against this trans madness. I have disagreed with her in the past about her stance on Israel and the Jewish people and the likes of that particular nature, and her Holocaust denial aspects and rhetoric, and what Joseph Mengele did to innocent kids and Jewish people as well. So I also believe that you can't necessarily throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are things that people will say that you don't agree with. Doesn't mean they can't say them. It means that we just got to get better at defending the truth in those cases. Like, you can have a right to an opinion, or at least you should have a right to an opinion. And one of those opinions that I'm quite strong at is that trans women are absolutely not women. You can't tell me that a biological man that dresses himself up with lipstick, puts on a dress, wears fake breasts, and calls himself a woman is in fact a woman, because he's not. What he is a delusional dingbat, if you ask me. But nevertheless, society would love you to believe that these biological dudes that have gone through puberty, male puberty, I'll have you know, are in fact real women, and it's derogatory or it's defamatory or whatever, or it's transphobic, whatever word that you want to use in the equation these days that they decided to create to label you as the weird one or the bad one, even though they're the one that's actually trying to live a delusional lifestyle. Hey, they want you to think that you're the bad person and they're the good person. So no, enough is enough. And I'm glad that Trump won, because he's going to put an end to men entering into female sports, locker rooms, and trying to trans kids. This idea of gender affirming care nonsense, we know it's not care. The butchers and the liars should all be imprisoned. And I hope to God that Trump seeks some retribution in that manner, because we have not seen anything like this since Joseph Mengele in World War II. But even then, it wasn't, I mean, it was bad, but this is crazy because we're allowing this. There's no shame. At least the Nazis were shameful and they tried to hide it. We're not hiding it. We're parading it around. We're celebrating it even. They've named days after it. Trans Day of Visibility was the other day, I think it was. Not that I was caring, but wow. Just wow, man. So have a watch of Candace Owens basically rip this professor a new one with facts, reason, and logic, because you can dress up a pig all you want. You can put lipstick on a pig, you can put a dress on a pig, but guess what? Still a pig. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, acts like a duck, it's probably a duck. And even though a person wants to act like something they're actually not, doesn't make them that. It's called acting. It's called delusion. We have a whole industry called acting. And a lot of these people are very good at it. But at what expense? Changing laws to suit the delusional dingbats. Anyway, have a watch.
Actually differentiate, like trans women are absolutely not women, and that's why we're playing the crazy game right now, is because we have people that are trying to parse reality and say, well, I believe trans women are women, but they're also biological men. Like, the fact that we are calling them trans women is because they are not women. I am a woman, and no matter how you feel on the inside, you are never going to be a woman. And that disagreement, that fundamental disagreement, is the reason why we are playing the crazy game. I won't play it. I will not address a man that is in a dress as a woman. It's insulting to me. It's insulting to the things that actual women live through in their lives. And you can play Halloween, you can put lipstick on a pig. It is still a pig, and it is just Halloween. So I just feel very strongly about that, and I wanted to make that clear. And that this is a large part, though, Piers, going back to your point of why, because my sisters were on the left, and this is the first election that they voted for Trump. They're from Connecticut. Dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, I guess you could say, and they moved away. And the trans issue was the number one reason that they did. Yeah. What they said was happening in the school system made them fearful. They have sons. They thought it was completely crazy and bizarre that they're insisting upon trying to make toddlers. My sisters have toddlers believe that they can be anything that they want and that they're non-binary. They truly believe the left has gone crazy. And they say, I didn't leave the left left me. And that is an accurate statement to make, because they cannot just see things that are just so plainly obvious. They are trying to criminalize the idea that a woman is a woman, and you can't just become a woman because you feel a certain way on the inside. And the right, like I'm doing right now, I will just say it as it is, right? You are not a woman. I am sorry that you are suffering from a mental disorder. If you were suffering from any other mental disorder, I would treat you the same way. I want you to get better. But because you are suffering from a mental disorder does not mean that I have to pretend that I have a mental disorder and that I see things differently. I don't.
I mean, Mark, I'll let you respond directly to what Candace says there. Well, let me just point out one thing. Let me just point out one thing. There was a New York Times report today that said that one of the most effective Trump ads during the presidential race towards the end was the one where he had Kamala Harris saying, she'll call you they, them, I'll call you you, or whatever it was. And that turned out to be, to the Trump campaign team's surprise, one of their most effective ads of the whole race, apparently, which suggests it is a much bigger issue than some Democrats clearly want people to think. I saw Joe Scarborough on this yesterday, very vocal, saying this trans issue has gone completely wrong. The Democrats should not be supporting this kind of thinking. And Bill Clinton, apparently, according to the New York Times, he directly tried to get the Democrats and Kamala Harris and her team to understand that they had to come out against this. But they didn't. And that is, I think, a big problem, particularly, as I say, the reason I think it's a big problem is if at the same time you're trying to say, I'm the person protecting women's rights. One of the reasons why so many women didn't vote for her may be because they just didn't buy it. Sorry, if you did, you wouldn't allow this.
Right. I'll respond to all those points. I think they're interesting points. I think, one, I'm not sure anyone, and again, I need to see the data to speak to this, just as we all should. I don't think anyone is voting for the president based on this issue. It could be an issue that tips the scale, but I think most people aren't voting for president based on this issue. I just don't think it's the priority issue of most people.
Mothers are.
I do. Again, they may be. I'd like to see the evidence of that. I can't say definitively one way or the other, but it's never happened before in any election, so this would be the first time. So if it's true, just show me the evidence, and I'm happy to learn from it. But to the bigger point here, I think that we can say, when I say women, I'm including cisgender women, I'm including transgender women. When I say women, I'm including all of their experiences. When I want to protect women, I don't just want to protect cisgender women, I want to protect transgender women. When it comes to sports for me, For me, it's about a competitive advantage. If someone were a cisgender woman, which we've seen before, that had high levels of testosterone, but were not trans, just had high levels of testosterone and gave a competitive advantage, I would say they also should not compete. It's not their transness. It's about keeping a level playing field.
Candace raises a few very good points. Number one being that it's offensive to actual real women to say that a man is a woman. It's also offensive to say the word cis. I hate that word. I will never use that word to anybody. The professor decided to use that word, but is it any wonder why the professor decided to use that word? The man is obviously trying not to be offensive to anyone. And look, if you're trying to be not be offensive to one particular group, you end up being offensive to the other group. So pick one, just pick the side of sanity, mate, not the side of the small little minority group that decides to chuck a massive tantrum over you telling them the truth. If you're worried about a small little minority group ranting and raving, then you're the problem, not them. You're the problem. You need to stand up and you need to actually show some backbone and tell the truth, because the truth will set you free. Unfortunately, these people are under significant bondage. They don't believe that they're under that sort of bondage. They believe that they are free to do whatever the hell they want, but at our expense. And professors like this or academics like this are significantly the problem. They're the ones that say, you can be whatever you decide that you want to be, and I will call you whatever you want because I'm afraid that you will call me a racist, transphobic bigot. So what? You can call me anything you want, but I'm not going to call you something that I know is not true. And it's offensive to real women to say trans woman. It's offensive for a number of reasons, but just call women women and men men. Why do you need to put trans in front of it? Doesn't make any sense. But this professor goes, yeah, trans women are women. How are they women? Exactly. Please explain. They can't, because they don't even know what a woman is. They're that delusional. They're that lost. Another point Candace raises is the left has lost its mind. This professor lost his mind, seems like a long time ago. A lot of people that drink the Kool-Aid, let's say, and they go further down the rabbit hole, drinking more and more Kool-Aid as they go along, end up in this state of utter delusional, confusing reality that they think it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to push on the little kids and say, you can be non-binary, you can be whatever you want. But to Candace and her sisters, they're going, no, the left, I didn't leave the left. The left lost me. They left me a long time ago because they decided to get crazy. They decided to get enormously mental, and they're afraid. They're afraid of teachers going in schools and indoctrinating their own kid to say that you can be something that you're actually not. That's a problem, people, in case you weren't wondering already. I'm sure many of you watching this are already on the side of sanity and reason, and I think that's fantastic. The left has lost its mind, and I think a lot of Americans are fed up and sick and tired of all of the woke, nonsensical crap. They got tired of it, and they made the Democrats pay. But the Democrats still are trying to figure out what went wrong. You don't have to look too hard, man. You don't have to look too hard at all. But they won't, because they love wokeness far too much. When Trump won, it was the day that wokeness, the mind virus, officially died. Thank God for that. Anyway, my friends, you guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.